Yes.
Can we make our intention just 2 days before?
You can, but that will be too early. You can, inshallah. Yes.
About you say that we can rent our house, but what about the place you live?
Same thing. It's better not to toothpaste to brush your teeth during the day. You can do that before Fajr and then after Maghrib. If you have to use it during the day, use it as long as you're not going to swallow it. If I suffer from extreme migraine headaches, which do not normally go with medicine, should I continue as far as I can and break or not fast at all? Obviously, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not want us to be burdening ourselves with anything. So you need to consult with your doctor. If your doctor says that it is better to break your fast, then break your fast inshallah, and there will be nothing wrong with that. If you can, whenever you can fast, better to fast. If you know that fasting is going to put you in a state of migraine, then it's better to avoid fasting. I have heard all other forms of prayer are for ourselves, but fasting is for Allah. Please explain. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said fasting is for me. Why? Because in reality, when you abstain from food and drink and intimacy, you can hide and claim that you have fasted. So people, when they fast solely for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. People can hide and eat and claim that they are fasting. Because a person does it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is a lot of sincerity in fasting, right? Because it's all about, and it's more an internal ibadah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives a great reward. That's why that's the meaning of fasting is for me. Because people, when they pray in congregation. When they give zakah, you can give zakah in front of others. But when you fast, no one will know if you're fasting or not. Right? No one will know if you're fasting or not. Is refraining the body from food, especially water, for so long in this heat good? How do we explain how do we explain it in the medical terms? In reality, the water in the body has a lot of water, and it has been medically proven that when the body is deprived for short periods, and I don't mean by short periods here 1 hour or 2 hours, we're talking about like something less than 18 hours. This is what has been medically proven. Up to 18 hours, if the body is prevented from water, what will the body do is to generate water. To start using the water that is inside it. And that itself is healthy for the body. More than 18 hours without water will be harmful for the body. That's why the doctors and advised the scholars, and the scholars said you cannot fast more than 18 hours. So in reality, if fasting hours have reached 18 hours, we have to break our fast, even if the sun is there. So if ever it happens in any country that fasting has reached 18 hours, more than 18 hours, at the threshold of 18 hours, people have to break their fast, even if they can't see the sun in front of them. Right? So up to 18 hours, that's still fine. And obviously, we are required and recommended to consume a lot of water before Fajr and after Maghrib to kind of make up for the water that we have missed throughout the day. What age should you start fasting full time? The age of puberty, and that differs from one person to another, and differs from men to women as well. Do you have to fast when it is not Ramadan? No, you don't have to fast when it is not Ramadan, but there are other recommended fasts, like fasting Mondays and Thursdays, fasting 6 days in the month of Shawwal after Ramadan, fasting the 13th and 14th and 15th of every month, fasting some certain blessed days like the 10 days of Dhul-Hijjah, like the 10th of Muharram, 9th and 10th of the month of Muharram. If someone is following an exercise regime, can they not fast for example, a day, a week to exercise, so that your body does not go back to the state it was before the exercise regime started? I don't see this as an excuse. I would not see this as an excuse at all. Because this is not a necessary thing, it's not a medical thing. You know, caring for as much as you care for the shape of your body, you've got to care for the shape of your iman and the shape of your heart as well. A person who is mentally ill by, I can't read that, what the parent or the guardian should do. I think they should look after them. These children are not required to do anything. The parents should understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives them a lot of reward. This child is a source of barakah and blessings in the house, because the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, إِنَّمَا تُرْزَقُونَ بِضُعَفَائِكُمْ. You're given rizq because of the weak amongst you. What about blunt country that during fasting? Huh? Possibly. Blood test is fine. Blood test, bloodletting, donating blood is absolutely fine, and it does not break your fast, inshallah. Any questions from brothers?
Just want to sister mention, I'm not sure if that might be some idea. If someone is baligh or he has to fast but he's mentally ill,
It's not required. Yes. With mental illness, then it doesn't matter whether the person is at the age of puberty or not. Yes.
How can you check if you're outside, if you haven't got the watch or don't know the time to open or close the fast? How can you, by this, watching the sky?
Obviously, you got to get like a
Timetable.
timetable. Yes.
You don't have any.
If you don't have,
If you're somewhere and you don't have anything, I'm just asking.
like where? That's unimaginable now.
Yeah, in a park.
In a park.
Yeah.
You can go to the close. Do you have mobile?
The reason I'm asking you, I want to know how did this came up to the timetable.
How did it come? Obviously, back in the days, they used to decide. They used to know when the sun sets and when the sun rises. Obviously, they knew that through observing. In 1907, two German meteorologists went to Aswan in the southern of Egypt, and they stayed there for a year watching the sun set and the sun rise to confirm if the traditional way of calculating the dawn is correct or not. And they had machines and they had things that they tested with, and they discovered that the Maliki way of calculating the dawn that has happened 600-700 years ago was very accurate. So they had the tools. Actually, if you read in fiqh about the prayer timings up until today in the traditional books of fiqh, it tells you that the time of Dhuhr starts when the sun moves from the meridian, from the middle of the sky. So obviously they knew what is the meridian. When the sun moves from the meridian, and the time of Dhuhr continues until the shade of everything is equal to it. And then the sun at the time of Asr starts when the shade is double your size. When your shade is double your size, so you can stand and measure your shade. If your shade is exactly your size, that means this is the end of the time of Dhuhr. And then if it increases, then this is the time of Asr until the sun is a bit yellowish, right? And then after that, there is a time when prayer is makruh, it's reprehensible to pray until Maghrib. So they spoke about Ash-Shafaq al-Ahmar, the red twilight, and then the white twilight. That's when the Isha starts. Obviously in confusing countries like here, where we cannot actually ascertain the time of the white twilight because it's pretty much the same. From Isha time till Fajr time, the ulama said there is something called the analogy. So you start calculating according to hours. And obviously they have divided the day into 24 hours long time ago. Right? 24 equal portions, which we later on called the hour. But the word hour generally means any time, means any amount of time. Right? Traditionally the word hour does not refer to 60 minutes. But later on they came to the conclusion that it's 60 minutes and each minute is 60 seconds. Right? But in the early days they used to say that an hour is one portion out of 24 portions of a day. Right? So that's very, very well known. Even if you are in the desert, how would they know their way in the desert? How would they decide? Obviously, we don't know how to do that nowadays because we can't read the stars. Can you read the stars? Can you tell me which star referring to the north and which star referring to the south? But a Bedouin in the desert, he can look at the stars and he says, well, this is referring to the north, this is referring to the south. How would you decide the Qibla if you are out in the desert? Obviously, things like this require you to have a bit of training. But there are places that give this training nowadays. Like the House of Fatwa in Egypt, they give this type of training. That they take you to something called Ma'had al-Falak, the Institute of Astronomy. They make you watch the stars and read the stars and know which Najm al-Shamal, which is the North Pole star. Right? The Prophet ﷺ, as described in the Shama'il, he was able to see 11 out of 13 stars called Ash-Sha'ra. And the maximum a human being can see of them is less than 7. The maximum, even if you have a very powerful eyesight, you can't see more than 7. The Prophet ﷺ was able to see 11 out of 13. Right? Yes.
Is there any highly recommended foods from the Prophet ﷺ?
Obviously dates and any food that does not have a lot of starch. Any food that is not going to put burden in your stomach. Questions? Yes.
You mentioned the day is a maximum of 18 hours. Is that accepted everywhere? Because obviously, you have conversations with people and they say, if you live in the north cities, you have 22-hour fasts and things like that.
Yes, basically this is obviously when we are dependent, we have taken this from the Egyptian House of Fatwa, which is a very senior organization, very senior scholarly organization that issues fatwas respected all over the Muslim world. And not only that the Egyptian House of Fatwa issue is of that opinion, but many other houses of fatwa in the Muslim world have come to this conclusion after consulting doctors. What is the maximum time a person can remain without water? And they said not more than 18 hours. After 18 hours, it will be health hazard on the person. So they said if fasting goes more than 18 hours, then the person can break their fast at 18 hours. When a person has to fast 60 consecutive days to make up for breaking fast, does his wife have to do the same? If the wife has willingly broken her fast through intimacy, then she participates in that. If not, and she's been forced by her husband to break her fast in that way, then she only makes up for the day and she is exempt from the 60 days. In summer days are very long and Isha is very late. If you had a very hectic day and you are very tired, what shall you do? As waiting for Isha becomes very difficult. Obviously there is a fatwa that has been issued by the European Council for Fatwa and Research that at this time, when Isha is quite late, obviously some masajid act according to this. If Isha is very late and we cannot ascertain the white twilight, then you have one of two options. Either to combine Maghrib with Isha at the time of Maghrib, or to pray Isha according to the Maliki madhab, and this is even safer because there is no modern ijtihad here. This is a traditional view. In the Maliki madhab, the Isha time starts 60 minutes after Maghrib. 60 minutes exactly after Maghrib. So if Maghrib is 9:18 or 9:15, then 10:15 the time of Isha starts according to the Maliki madhab. So for people can actually apply this opinion if they are very tired and it's a very hectic day. Yes.
What is the situation for women who are breastfeeding?
Women breastfeeding are allowed to break their fast and they can make up after they have stopped breastfeeding their children. Yes.
What is the advice for the professional athletes?
Excuse me?
What is the advice for professional athletes if they are in a professional competitive sports? So, for example, just extending the questions what the sister asked. So,
With professional athletes, the ulama have made an exception. And they have made an analogy between this and what people who we call ashab al-a'mal al-shaqqa. There is a rule in Sharia for people who have very difficult work. For instance, someone works as a baker, so he's in front of fire all the day. Someone works in a mine, right? He does something that requires a lot of physical activity and makes him in a very difficult situation all the time. The ulama said for that person it's acceptable to break his fast. That person is allowed to break his fast and then he should make up later on, right? Because this is his work, this is his living. It's not just a luxurious thing, it's not an optional thing. Same thing, they expanded this rule to professional athletes because it's something that is necessary for them. So they can break their fast if they have been advised by the doctors not to fast. Fitra and fidya and kafara. The three are basically the same. Fidya and kafara are both the same. It's basically penance or financial punishment, financial payment that you pay for not fasting. Although kafara could be making up the day. So making up the day, that's a form of kafara, but they normally use it to refer to something extra than on top of making up the day. Yes.
What about for people who are getting exams?
Obviously, we don't want to expand the thing. If a person, you see, there is a big difference between fatwa and ruling. When we talk about ruling, we're making a general thing. If a person is going through exams or is doing exams, generally that's not an excuse. That's not an excuse for breaking your fast. However, if someone is having specific conditions that he cannot focus in his exams or something like that, it is better for him to seek an individual fatwa. So he comes and he says, Shaykh, I have this condition. What do you advise me? So we give him a solution for his specific situation, which means that he cannot go and give that to someone else and say, okay, anyone who has exams can break their fast. No, exams are not seen as an excuse. Going to the gym is not seen as an excuse, because a lot of people will take different things and say, okay, I have this, I have this, I have that. Then if we open the gate for people, we will end up having no one fasting in the month of Ramadan. So we give people fatwa that is particular to them. If you go to the doctor and say, I have headache, right? Can I take paracetamol? Doctor will say, generally paracetamol is for temperature. I have temperature. Can I take paracetamol? No. You come to me. Possibly your temperature is not related. Paracetamol is not suitable. You come and let's test you, right? Then when he prescribes something specific to you, you cannot go and give it to anyone who's got temperature, right? So that's the difference between fatwa and ruling. When you have some medications for cough in the pharmacy, isn't it? At the pharmacist. But can anyone with cough go and take it? No. Sometimes cough could be caused by something else. Sometimes cough could be caused by a disease somewhere else in your body. Therefore, the best thing is to go and check with your doctor. And when you go to the GP, they say, okay, take this, and if it doesn't work, come back to us, right? So when you go back to them and they give you a specific medication, right, what do they write on the medication? It is specific to that person. Why do they write your name on the medication that is very particular, like something related to asthma, something related to specific antibiotic, because it's for you. It's not for anybody else's case. So for that you need a fatwa. Yes.
So you say that if somebody takes one day, suppose 5 pounds out of 10 pounds, if I give it to my country, suppose 1 day,
Fine.
10 pounds is not required. Do I need to give 10 pounds, or if I feed a person 1 day, then that amount I should give?
If you want to feed the person there, right? And if you want to send the money, that's fine as well. One important thing we normally forget, that a lot of people, when they want to pay zakat al-fitr, fitrana, they say, okay, I'm going to pay that in Pakistan or in Bangladesh or abroad at the value of the country. No. You pay it at the value of the UK, even if you pay it there. So you pay it according to the value of here. Even if you're going to pay it there. Because where is fasting required from you? Here or there? Here. So you pay it according to the value here. So if we say, for instance, because we don't know how much zakat al-fitr will be this year. If we say that zakat al-fitr is 4 pounds, 5 pounds, or 3 pounds, or 2 pounds, and then you need to give it in Bangladesh, and in Bangladesh it is something equal to 1 pound. No, you don't give 1 pound, you give 2 pounds, or you give 3 pounds. You give whatever you're supposed to give here, even if you are sending it there. And as a point of caution, when you plan to give your zakat abroad, especially zakat al-fitr, you got to make sure that it arrives there before the end of Ramadan. arrives there before the end of Ramadan. Because if Zakat al-Fitr arrives after Salatul Eid, right, it is not counted. Can you still give, do you have to still give it? Yes, you still have to give it. So even if you have not paid Zakat al-Fitr until the day of Eid, you still have to give it, but it's not counted. You still have to give it because it's an obligation. It's just like someone who prays Salatul Jum'ah, who comes to Salatul Jum'ah in the second rak'ah. You join Salatul Jum'ah in the second rak'ah. What do you do? What do you do? Huh? How many rak'ah do you make? No. You pray full dhuhr. If you catch Jum'ah in the second rak'ah, you do another 3 rak'at. This is one situation where you make an intention for something and you pray something else. You have made an intention for what? Jum'ah. But you ended up praying what? Dhuhr. If you catch Jum'ah in the second rak'ah, you have to add another 3 rak'at because you have missed Jum'ah. You've missed it. For you to do Jum'ah, you have to do the 2 rak'at with the Imam. So you catch the Imam before going into Ruku' in the first rak'ah. Right? If you catch the Imam in the second rak'ah in Jum'ah, the ulama actually use this as a riddle. They say a person has prayed without an intention and has intended without praying. What is that? You intended to pray Jum'ah, but you ended up praying Dhuhr. So you prayed Dhuhr without an intention, and you intended but did not pray what you have intended for. So you have come in, joined the Imam in the second rak'ah of Jum'ah, and then you realize that the Imam after the first rak'ah, your first rak'ah has sat for the tashahhud, Assalamu alaikum, Assalamu alaikum. This is not what I have intended for. You stand up and do another 3 rak'ah, complete your Dhuhr. Right? So in this situation, when you intend to send Sadaqat al-Fitr, you make sure that you send it. Sadaqat al-Fitr or Zakat al-Fitr can be sent any time from the beginning of Ramadan up to the end of Ramadan. You've got 30 days. You make up your mind at the beginning. Do you want to pay it here in the UK? You can pay it here in the UK. Or do you want to give it away afterwards? You want to give it away to another country. If you want to give it away to another country, then better to give it from now on. From the beginning of Ramadan. Anytime. You have 30 days to do that. Any more questions? Yes, brother. Yes,
Is the same thing applied to expiation? Say, for example, like you said, to pay the money to feed the poor people.
No, expiation does not have to be on the spot. There is a space. You
But
can.
say, for example, you wanted to pay to another country, would you
Yeah.
pay the amount that's due, like you would say?
In here.
Like, say, for example, if I wanted to pay in Pakistan, would I pay that amount for the meal rather than the amount that's for here? Makes sense.
That amount of which meal?
So, if you're going to feed the poor people,
Yes.
and let's say, for example, the scenario that you said, the intimate relation, and you need to feed the poor people, could you do that in another country?
Yes, you
But
can.
would you have to pay the amount that's due over there, or the amount that's
If
here?
you pay it in another country, then it's better to buy them the meal.
Okay, but according to their own
According to their own thing.
value.
Are pregnant ladies exempt from fasting? Yes, if they are, pregnant ladies are exempt from fasting. Generally, they are advised by others not to fast as they are carrying a baby. Yes, they are exempt from fasting and they can make up later on or pay fidya. What, in your experience, is the best answer when a non-Muslim asks why do we fast? Tell them we fast in order to train ourselves to, like people do, have diets, isn't it? People normally have diets. The best answer is to tell them we fast because it is healthy for our body, to give some time to our body to reconstruct itself, to maintain our body, to enable ourselves to lead a healthy life.
Sister asked a question. I usually ask why you fast, and this is the question. And my answer sometimes I tell them that it's just to show our amnesty to the people around the world who don't have anything to eat.
That's one thing as well. Kind of showing solidarity and sympathy to people. Because of my stomach problems, I pass wind every 2 minutes. Someday, for example, I started my Isha prayer and the first rak'ah, then take wudu again. Okay, with a person who has something called inconsistence of wind, meaning he has a stomach problem that he passes wind, the best thing is to take wudu right before salah. Right before salah. While the iqamah is on, you go and take wudu and come directly. If you pass wind afterwards, continue your salah and there is no problem. Same thing with a person who has got urine inconsistency, a person who cannot control his urine. He should take wudu for each salah and then join the salah. If something comes out during the salah, then his salah is valid, inshallah. So what shall I do? Taking wudu? No, as we said, you just take wudu once before the salah, and if anything comes out during the salah, your salah will be valid, inshallah, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive you for what you cannot control. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. Allah does not burden a soul beyond what it can bear. So what you cannot bear, what you cannot control, Allah will not burden you. Allah will not ask you to fulfill it. Right? Nah.
Yeah, I was asking the Shaykh about angels, when the Shaykh spoke about angels and humans. If humans are better than angels, why are we trying to aspire to be angels?
We're not trying to aspire to be like them.
Angelic.
Yes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is proving to us that we can be like them. That we can be like them. Sometimes it is part and parcel of proving to someone that he is good, that you pressurize him, right? You put him into a test and then you show him, look, you can do it. No, I can't. No, you can't do it. When you put him in trouble, when you put him under pressure, he can't do it. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to prove to us that we are better than angels. So look, when I told you, when I commanded you not to eat, you see, you managed to do it.
Isn't that like when our brother asked about when people ask us why we fast? It's to do with the spiritual discipline as well as the, as well as the physical benefits and solidarity and all the other reasons that you touched upon. But the spiritual discipline, that means that if we develop that discipline, that we can take it through the rest of the year and hopefully have a strong experience in Ramadan of it, then we are closer to that excellence, that Islam, that is angelic. So we're not angels, but we can get closer to the perfection of worship that an angel has. But still, we are human. So
yes, we are humans and we have our failings. Okay, if you pay Eid al-Fitrana, for instance, you live in the UK and send it, and it arrives before Eid because they celebrate a day after us, is it still accepted? Inshallah, it's still accepted. But you don't, they say don't put all your eggs in one basket. So don't. If they're celebrating Eid one day after, don't put too much luck on this, because possibly, what if it doesn't arrive? If you have a train to catch at 7:30 and you know that it takes you 20 minutes to get to the station, you don't leave 20 minutes exactly, because you need to put another 5-10 minutes just in case. Even if they say that all lines are working and everything is fine, probably your leg gets broken or something. Huh? Probably something happens to impede you. We have a statement, they say in Egypt, like sometimes you are in haste, right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts something in your way that delays you. So make sure that you put all possibilities, that if some impediment comes, right, you have this second plan, you have plan B for everything. Okay, I think we'll have question from the brother first. The etiquette of i'tikaf is, number one, you have to have intention. That's a pillar of i'tikaf. You have to have intention. Etiquette of i'tikaf is, number one, to be in a continuous state of purification. It has to happen in a masjid. To cut yourself from worldly things. A lot of brothers and sisters, especially brothers, when they come, they bring their phones with them, they bring their internet with them, they bring all means of communication with them. I'tikaf is supposed to give you time to reflect, to read the Quran, to do dhikr, to do ibadah, and to focus on yourself, not to chit-chat with the other people in i'tikaf. Right? So people during the day, what are they doing? They're sitting to the person who's with them in i'tikaf and they're inshallah, see you in i'tikaf. That's not i'tikaf. The word akafa means to dedicate, to be in isolation, to isolate yourself and to give yourself time to reflect, time to think, time to read, right? Also, one of the etiquettes of i'tikaf is not to bring books of knowledge to i'tikaf. This is not time for knowledge. You know, someone is reading some novels or some literature, or he likes reading, he's reading during i'tikaf. I'tikaf is for ibadah. I mean by ibadah is reading Quran, dhikr, prayer, observing, putting a daily schedule for yourself on how can you get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These are only 10 days, so it's the etiquette of that is to cut yourself properly from dunya. Yes, brother.
Can you fast if you are traveling? Because it can be from 2 hours to 12 hours.
You can if you are able to. And if it is more than 85 kilometers, as we said, it's more than 85 kilometers, you're allowed to break your fast. You're allowed not to observe the fast. But if you fast, if you're able to fast, it is better. The Quran says, وَأَن تَصُومُوا خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ. If you fast, it is better for you. Yes, let's take this question.
Question is 85 miles.
No, 85 kilometers.
Kilometers to travel. Nowadays we got the car, so it's 1 hour drive or half an hour drive.
You see, brother, this is a very important question. Jazakallah khair. Rulings of Sharia don't change due to the easiness. The Prophet ﷺ said, "As-safaru qut'atun min al-'adab." Traveling is part of punishment. It is punishment. It is difficult because you might find it easy because you have a car. We are not going to change the hukum because of a person who has a car or because a person who is finding it easy. Why? Because there is a general rule that is going to accommodate everyone. You see my point? So for instance, when they want to put the law, they don't put the law according to one individual. Possibly you find, like when they say, oh, we'll take £5 tax from a person. And you say, what is this £5? This is nothing, right? Yes, but the law is not put for you. It's put for considering everyone else. Possibly £5 is too much money for someone who works. That's why when they put a threshold or they put a category, they need to observe everyone to accommodate people with different conditions. Yes? Okay, we'll take these two more and that's it, inshallah. Does using perfume break your fast? No, unless you intentionally smell it. You put it in front of your nose and you inhale it. Then it breaks your fast. But if you put it in your clothing, it's fine. Does a person who needs to make up for fasts missed have to do so before the next Ramadan? Yes, he has to make up for his fast before the next Ramadan. If he does not, then he's still required, and in some madhab, in some fiqh schools, he is supposed to add the penance for delaying. So he's supposed to make up and then add a penance for delaying it to the next Ramadan. Let's have the question from our uncle.
If you have time, my house is not so far. Can I go extra?
For what? I'tikaf?
Yeah, during.
No, during the i'tikaf you're not supposed to leave the masjid. You take a shower in the masjid. Yes, final question.
Yeah, just the sister asked somebody, as you answered for that person need to make up for Ramadan
Before the following.
the next Ramadan, but how it applies to a female which is breastfeeding, and according to Islam, I think it's about 2 years.
Yes, that sister is exempt from that. Is exempt from that. Okay, this is the last question from sisters and brothers. I suffer from mental illness and I am on medication. I have side effects like shaking my limbs, which makes it very difficult for me to concentrate on my prayers. Inshallah, pray as much as you can, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive whatever you cannot observe, inshallah ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as we said before, one does not burden us beyond what we can bear. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives what we cannot bear. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not want to put us in difficulty. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ بِكُمُ الْيُسْرَ. Allah wants to put you in ease. وَلَا يُرِيدُ بِكُمُ الْعُسْرَ. He does not want to put you in difficulty. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our Ramadan from us. May subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us a blessed Ramadan. May subhanahu wa ta'ala bless our families, our loved ones, gather us with them. Fill our hearts with love and mercy towards His ibad. May subhanahu wa ta'ala choose for us doing. Under His protection, may subhanahu wa ta'ala facilitate things for us, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala remove all our burdens, and remove all our barriers, and remove all our sins, and remove all the things that debar us from Him. May subhanahu wa ta'ala benefit us with the righteous people amongst us. May subhanahu wa ta'ala enable us to be humble, enable us to be humble in our own eyes and big in the eyes of people. May subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us beneficial knowledge and enable us to put it into action. اللهم إنا نسألك ونتوجه إليك باسمك الطيب الأعظم الطاهر المبارك الذي إذا سئلت به أجبت وإذا استعطيت به أعطيت وإذا استرحمت به رحمت، أن تصب علينا الخير صبا ولا تجعل عيشنا كدا، وأن تطهر قلوبنا مما سواك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم اجمعنا بمن نحب على ما تحب فيما تحب، يسر لنا قلوب من نحب، طهر قلوب من نحب، حنن علينا قلوب من نحب. ربنا اغفر لنا ولإخواننا الذين سبقونا بالإيمان، ولا تجعل في قلوبنا غلا للذين آمنوا. ربنا إنك رؤوف رحيم. ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما. اللهم يسر لنا أمورنا مع الراحة لقلوبنا وأبداننا والسلامة والعافية في دنيانا وديننا، وكلنا صاحبا في سفرنا، خليفة في أهلنا، واطمس على وجوه أعدائنا، وسقم على مكانتهم فلا يستطيعون المضي ولا المجيء إلينا. اللهم هون علينا سفرنا هذا واطلع عنا بعده يا كريم. اللهم اجمعنا على الخير ويسر لنا الخير واجعلنا من أهل الخير. وفقنا لما تحب وترضى. انشر بنا دينك في هذه البلاد طولا وعرضا. نورنا ونور بنا وهذبنا وهذب بنا. ووفقنا ووفق إلينا ووفق الخير إلينا واجعل الخير في ركابنا يا كريم. ارفع عصا التأديب وارفع عصا التأنيب وارفع عصا العذاب عن المسلمين. اغفر لعبادك المسلمين في كل مكان يا كريم. اغفر لمشايخنا وارحمهم وبارك لهم واحفظ الأحياء منهم يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم يسر أمر أهل مصر وارفع عنهم الحيف والظلم والقهر والعذاب يا أرحم الراحمين. وارفع الحيف والظلم والقهر والعذاب عن أهل سوريا وعن بلاد المسلمين. اللهم أصلح أمة سيدنا محمد. اللهم اغفر لأمة سيدنا محمد. اللهم تجاوز عن أمة سيدنا محمد. اللهم اجعلنا من أمة سيدنا محمد. ادخلنا في دوائر رحمتك ولطفك وعفوك وعافيتك يا كريم. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. الحمد لله رب العالمين.